Well, hello there. Hi. Cheers, everyone. It's been a while. Been a while since I've had to make my own coffee in the morning. Crazy. Just made it nice and hot. Indeed, it's Jerry. Yes, it's Gerald. Right? Cat's meow in Swedish. How does that go? Mihu? Mihu? I don't know. Hi. I've been absent without leave. I am sitting here at the moment, just finishing up testing some boards. So I'm going to do that during the stream. Yeah. I guess I got to explain what's been going on, but I'm just going to wait for a bit, see who else joins in first. Make sure I put that on correctly. I did. So I have two test jigs going, one on my left and one on my right, and I'm testing Tiny C6's UFL version. I don't have a D-series version of Tiny C6 because there's not enough I/O, which sucks. So there's not enough I/O to have a switch for the RF and an interrupt on a fuel gauge. So yeah, I see back to the manufacturing grind, or have I never left? I'll explain. I'm manufacturing today, all day today. So it won't be a long stream, but that's okay because I've got nothing to do, I've got stuff to talk about. We can catch up. Definitely will be a catch-up stream, but I only heard or read a little bleep on Bruce mentioning it on Discord this morning at 3 o'clock in the morning when I was awake. Don't ask. And I have no idea anything about it. It sounds like a terrible idea off the top of my head, but I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, as I said, nothing about it. You're all going to have to tell me about it because, yeah, no idea. No idea at all. I'm assuming it was for a big chunk of cash. I don't know. Arduino have been heavily pushing into more of the commercial side for quite a while. Commercial, industrially type spaces. So I couldn't see Qualcomm that interested in the makery side. But I don't know what it would bring to Qualcomm, really. As an ecosystem, it's not very good. It's very big, very prolific, but not very good. Can everyone hear me okay? Is the microphone loud enough? I hope so. Only 21 concurrent viewers. I guess the lack of streaming has made everyone disappear. Sound is fine? Okay, cool. I saw they were running a stream earlier and it looked commercial as hell. Yeah. Look, it's understandable that Arduino want to be in the commercial, industrial space because there's no money in the maker side. And they've been angling their products for quite a while in that direction. So I'm not surprised, but Qualcomm seems like a real weird thing. It was interesting. There's a new Q with a Qualcomm CPU. Okay, well, they don't have to get bought by Qualcomm to stick a Qualcomm CPU on. But yeah, okay. So they're going to get into the SBC space, are they? You're about to order it. I'd be focusing on your shoulder right now, mate. That was a horrific picture, horrific X-ray. I am back. I don't know how long for. I'll explain. I will. I'm just going to give it how long have we going for? I'll give it 4 more minutes, 10 past 7, and then I'll start. I'll let you all know what's been going on. Some of you know, my supporters know, although I haven't really been keeping them, as in my Patreon supporters. Sorry. But I haven't really, I've not been updating them a lot either. But they're aware of what I'm doing. And also on my Discord channel in the live stream. So for those who just joined, I'm testing boards. I've just got a bunch left to do. I need to get them done because I need to get them packed. I mentioned on my live stream channel what's been going on. But I'll give you some more details today. It's pretty insane. Pretty insane. Back then, not back. No, well, I might be back, but it's I've not been around on Wednesdays. I've not been around any days. But I will let you all know. I will. Well, it doesn't look like anyone else. Not many people are going to join. So okay, I'll start. So I have actually spent. So how long haven't I streamed for? Does anyone know? The new shipping solution. Do we want to start on that first? It's a disaster. So I've already had. It's a disaster. I've had packages returned already. How long has it gotten? 6 years. Oh, feels like it. I've had packages returned already. One of them I got back yesterday after 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. And then I've got another one hasn't come back yet. I've had packages that have gone through the process correctly, where I've prepaid the duty. And there are packages that haven't gone through the process correctly, where they haven't billed me the duty, yet they've already been approved by customs and shipped. And I have no idea what's going to happen with those. I've now shipped 12 or 13 US packages. I'm only shipping through Unexpected Maker. I'm not shipping anything through Tindy because I don't have a way of doing the duty and stuff on Tindy at the moment. And we'll see what happens. None of them have arrived yet, but many of them have left. The ones that go through Express Post get processed much quicker through the customs duty stuff. The ones that go standard post seem to take forever. So it's moving, maybe. But I wrote on Discord this morning. I was actually standing at the post office yesterday, going to ship some packages. And while I was in line, I was just watching people go to the front of the queue to receive their packages they've shipped to the US that have been returned because they weren't lodged properly or something went wrong and whatever. Like it's a real mess. It's a real mess. And Australia Post is struggling. They can't keep up. It's crazy. I want to know when my last. Okay, I'm going to look online when my last stream was. I'm curious. Hey Rob, I haven't said hi to everyone in the chat. I will in a moment. I just want to see. Live was. What was the date? August 27. No way. So it's been 5 weeks. It's been 5 weeks since my last stream. It's like Streamer Holics Anonymous. Wow. Hey, it's Micron. Okay, let me say hi to everyone in the chat. So, me, I was first in the chat. Hi, Unexpected Maker. Joe42, hello. Graham is here. Hi. Johnny, Life in Cycling. Bruce. Antonio, hello. Old Man Maker is here. And Mr. England. Did not see. Made a stream from the new work location. You have a new work location. I didn't see you pop in the stream. Hello. Where are you working now? Have you moved? Oh no, just like your work has moved. Okay, I don't know what's going on. How it's still going? Scrolling. Alex, hello. Rob, hi. X Micron, hello. Mr. Agony, ouch. Peter, Cable Ties here. Drop it in for a mo. This better be a 5-hour stream. No, it's not going to be. I have to run the line today. So no, it won't be a 5-hour stream. You don't want to listen to me waffle for 5 hours. Yeah, so, and for those who just joined, I'm just testing boards. How many have I got left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 28, 30 something. 42 boards left, maybe, to test. Yeah, when new accounts are not marked as a mod, and I don't need that on this account. But yeah, new contract at Sony. At Sony. Wow, very cool. Sony where? Which Sony? There are so many Sonys, so many. Okay, anyway, so what's been going on? Well, in the last 5 weeks that I haven't streamed, or the 4 weeks in between, it's 5 weeks since my last one, whatever, I have been to the factory here maybe 4 times in 4 weeks. Maybe 5. You know, I know you can't say that. I know. I thought you might anyway. Alan, hello. No notification? Oh. YouTube doesn't like me anymore. So I've not been here. I have been working on site at a client. I've got like 3 contract jobs on at the moment, but one of them is like epic. I'll tell you a bit about it. I'm not really under an NDA, but obviously I can't spill stuff. It's not my business, not my products and stuff, but I will spill a bit about what I'm doing, the scope of what I'm doing. You'll all have a really good laugh, I reckon. I think it's funny and sad. Yeah. What's going on with this one? Why is it not erasing? I'm going to have distractions while I'm watching these boards. This is failing to erase. I don't know why. Okay, hang on. I got to deal with that. So yeah, I've not been here much, and the only times I've been here, really, I mean, apart. Okay, I'm not including. I'm talking about coming in for a day. So yeah, that did not erase. What have I done? I don't know. So like I've come in for the odd hour here and there to pack some orders and whatever, but of course without the US shipping, things were pretty slow anyway. You are who's late? What? Who? Where? So I'm going to tell you a funny story about this contract job. And some of you have already heard it, so I apologize. You're going to hear it again. So someone I know who reached out to me, I don't know, 6 months ago or something. He's got a company that does. He's got hardware, software solution like products for a sport industry. I'm not going to go into exactly what it is. Nude and ignition, no. So yeah, he's got quite an intricate solution for a sporting industry, and he came to me. One of his products was ESP32 based, or there are several products, several things that make up a system for his solutions, and so one of them was ESP32 based, and he wanted to move it over to. Was looking to move it over to ESP32 S3 for various reasons, and just wanted my help in just talking through with him and kind of guiding him, whatever. And so he started doing that himself. He's got his own manufacturing facilities at his office. He's in Paran. He's about 40 minutes away from me, depending on traffic. Between half an hour and 40 minutes, depending on traffic, right? So that was all fine. And then he then said, "Look, hey, do you want to just take over doing this changeover of hardware? Like, I'll send you the board. He works in LTM. I'll send you the board design, and let's move it over to the S3. Let's see how we can optimize the board. And I want you to manufacture them. I don't want to manufacture them anymore." He doesn't want to do his own manufacturing anymore, even though he's got his own facilities internally. He wants to hand over because he's got a lot of different products, and some of them quite intricate, and he just doesn't have the time. He was doing it himself. So he said, "I want you to make them as well." I went, "Okay, no problem." So I worked on the design, changed it to S3, removed half the components on the board, like really optimized it, and optimized it for my manufacturing, for the components I'm using and stuff. And it went fairly smooth. Got the first prototype up, and of course, the other half of some hardware is software, right? And so there, for this parts of the product, their firmware is in IDF, right? ESP IDF, and it was in IDF version 4, and which of course is not compatible with the S3, so it needed to be upgraded. The whole code base had to be upgraded, and it was a significant upgrade to get it to 5 point whatever at the time, but just to get it into 5, because the change from 4 to 5 is quite large, and a lot of depreciated and changed APIs, and then a lot of new like asynchronous callback systems for many of their features, like the whole Wi-Fi process and stuff that wasn't there in 4. So it was a significant change, right? But the first part was just moving it over, and so they work in Platform IO, but with the IDF toolchain, not with the Arduino toolchain, right? And they've got a firmware developer, and they've also got a back-end like server infrastructure developer, right? Two different people. And so the firmware developer just wasn't keen on doing these changes. He just, umming and ahhing, and spent more time talking about how hard it was going to be, and we should just rewrite it from scratch, and blah blah blah. And none of this was my problem, except I've got this new hardware, and I can't test or validate it because the firmware doesn't work on it, because the firmware hasn't been updated yet. And so I'm sitting there going, okay, I've got more hardware to change that I need to work on and set it all up for manufacturing and stuff, and I can't even get this part done. So I said to this guy, to the client, I said, okay, I'll tell you what, I will start the move for the project from 4 to 5. I'll get the main hurdles out of the way. I don't know your code base. I don't know your code rules. I don't know your business rules. I really don't know much about how any of the stuff works within your, your products and whatever. And it's quite complex. So don't look at me for those, but I will get it going. I'll get the first part done. So that'll take that fear barrier away for the developer, so he can push on and get the rest done. So I did that. It took a little bit of work to do because, the code base touches everything from, concurrently running Wi-Fi and ESP now at the same time, and socket servers, and has GPS modules and external Bluetooth modules that are also operating at the same time, plus all sorts of crazy. Anyway, it's really full on, right? So chipping away at it, getting it, got it to a point where it could be handed over, and there was still friction. And even though it was kind of, I could get it on the device, I still couldn't test all the features because it had, there's a lot of stuff to do. And so all of a sudden I found myself in charge of that code base. So I've got hardware products I'm making, and I've got a whole IDF code base, complex code base that I know nothing about, that talks to a whole range of different things, not just remotely while it's running, but also gets plugged into hubs that then communicate via SQUiXL and via UART separately for different things. Really full on stuff. So this is turning into a much longer story. I'm going to take my jacket off now. So then all of a sudden, I'm working on the next board, which happens to be STM32 based, not ESP based. Why are these? Okay, I'm really struggling to talk and do this at the same time. And so I'm redoing the hardware on that. Again, moving it into KiCad so then I can do all my stuff here and manufacture them. And that board and the previous board also had a change of IMU on there. And it's a new IMU that hadn't been used before. And this is not Arduino land, so, no drivers. So I was also writing drivers, SQUiXL drivers for this IMU, a driver in IDF and a driver in CubeMX for STM32. Does everyone see the humor here yet? Has anyone got the humor? That Sion, who doesn't like coding, Sion, who doesn't like C++, is suddenly managing 2 C++ code bases. I don't use IDF. I'm not an IDF guy. I've done some very tiny things in IDF, but nothing of this scale. I'm not an STM32 guy. I don't use CubeMX. I'm not a CubeMX C++ developer, yet I'm now managing 2 code bases and writing I2C drivers for new hardware. And then, well, to get these working and talking to these hubs that multiple things plug into. So like one board connects to another board, which then connects to another board, and as in products. And so the hub runs off a combination of a Raspberry Pi and an old microcontroller. About IDF platform, I shall not. No. Look, IDF in Platform IO is it's painful because of how Platform IO works for versioning and stuff. But otherwise, it's just like opening up your IDF project and then compiling it command line. Like, it works. It's fine. I would have done it through an IDF install and just written my code in Visual Studio Code, but not use the PIO framework. But it works. That's what they were already using, right? So the pain is how PIO manages all the different versions of IDF and tool chains, and when you need to switch, like if I need to load the old code base up for the old IDF4 stuff, just to look at, compare and things, as soon as you open it up, PIO tries to switch all of the pipeline to IDF4 again. But I just want to look at the code, but it does it automatically, right? And then when you switch back to the other one, it's got to do that one again. It's just it's not nice. I don't like it. But anyway, so the hub is Raspberry Pi and a microcontroller, quite an old microcontroller, TI chip. I'm not going to tell you which one, but old. Hey, Beata. And so the code that's on the Pi, so the microcontroller controls the power management of the Pi. So, because you can't sleep a Raspberry Pi, and even if you sleep it, its processors, it's still running and it's chewing power. And, Raspberry Pis aren't really designed to be on 24/7 endlessly, really. They're good, they're not that good. So, this chip actually shuts down all the power, it brings it all back up again, it's got battery backup. So, in case there's a power failure, there's all sorts of stuff. Hey, Andy Mouse. And the Pi itself runs up to 12 concurrent threads, managing up to 12 devices that can be plugged into it simultaneously, and handles things like acquisition of data off the devices, because these devices are used again in sporting for capturing data and telemetry and all sorts of stuff, as well as remote upgrading all of the firmware on the devices. So you can send out new firmware to all the devices, and there are different devices that plug in ESP32S3 based that run different firmware for different purposes, which, yeah, doing all that. And it'll also send firmware to these devices that can update the other devices, the STM32 devices that are plugged into it. So the next time one of those devices is plugged in while it's being used, it can update that firmware. It's really, as I said, it's complicated. This project's been going on for like 15 years. And so the whole code base for the Pi is C++, written in code blocks. Woo! And I'm now in charge of all of that, because there's no point in having S3 hardware with IDF firmware on it and then plug it into a hub and it doesn't do anything because the hub doesn't know anything about it, because the hub needs to be upgraded. And so all of a sudden, I'm now in charge of all of their hardware design, hardware manufacturing, and all of their firmware, all of their embedded and computer firmware. The only thing I'm not in charge of now is the server side and back end, thankfully. Thankfully. We've got a good person working on that. Been working with her and she's great. So, but all of a sudden, I'm... So this all started because I was helping him out. It was a hey Sam, can you help me out thing, and it's now turned into a. So they're in a spot of bother because they've got some deadlines. Not my fault. The deadlines were there before me, and they could have not done these hardware improvements, but it would have been impossible to do after this deadline. Their deadlines are based around the sport and the seasons of the sport, both the competition side of the sport and the training side of the sport. And these products are to do with training, right? To do with, it's team sports, and it captures training. It's really complex stuff. It's really cool stuff. What they do, what they've done. So I'm VP of everything. No, so and basically most of this, other than the manufacturing part I'm doing for them, which I've only done one manufacturing run of one set of products so far. Just finished that second board, the STM board, STM32 board, and I've panelized it. They're getting sent off to JLC this week. I'll be doing a run of those, and there's more and more and more. I've got to start working on the hubs so I can manufacture those. So apart from the manufacturing of those, which I do here, and then any other manufacturing that I need to do, like running out of my own boards and stuff, which I do here, very occasionally I can do firmware remotely through Teams, but I need to be there physically because I need to have the devices and plug them in and, whatever. So I'm there most of my time. And I've been doing some really insane hours there, like 12, 13-hour days, multiple times per week, and then just regular 10-hour days for the rest of the days. Occasionally half days. Yesterday I did a half day because I had to come in here and ship some orders. But yeah, it's been all consuming. And I find myself doing all the things that I didn't want to do, um, and didn't want to be responsible for. I'm now doing and responsible for, but I'm enjoying it. Firstly, because he's a great guy, right? The guy I'm doing it for, he's a great guy. We're getting on really well. As I said, I knew him beforehand, so that really helps. And he was manufacturing his own stuff. Like he understands it all. Like there's no having to explain anything, and he also like appreciates just how thrown in the deep end I've been. I mean, basically, we're talking about like four unique 15-year-old code bases that have been handed to multiple people along the way, and the last guy who's been working on it has done very little to no documentation, no comments, like nothing. So all the documentation is old, and trying to understand these code bases, sure it's all C++, but it's all completely different APIs, and it's been a challenge. It really has. It's flexing my brain beyond anything that's reasonable. But the reason I'm been enjoying it is because even though it's not for me, they're not my products. It's not client facing. It's not like, okay, he's my client, but we're not doing work for his clients, right? So it's his products instead of my products. But it's like, not that I make products for sporting stuff, but it's the stuff that I'm doing for him is the stuff I do for myself. You know what I mean? It's not left field from what I'm doing. Designing hardware for solutions. Upgrading stuff. I'm Wi-Fi, Ethernet, sockets, BLE, all sorts of stuff. And I'm also improving their products, both from a manufacturability point of view, from a cost point of view, like in terms of just dropping the overall BOM cost of the products significantly. Because a lot of these stuff were designed a long time ago, and even though they've had some hardware upgrades, all the original decisions have gone with them the whole time. Like sticking an external BLE module on it for, all the modules are used for, BLE modules is for like connecting to heart rate monitors. And so I worked out how to get Wi-Fi, ESP-NOW, sockets, and BLE running concurrently on the S3 chip. Concurrently. And so I moved all of the heart rate monitor stuff to the BLE on the S3, and there's now like a $14 module we don't have to put on every board anymore. Thousands of boards, no BLE module. I mean, that's huge. That's a huge win. So stuff like that. I've had an opportunity while converting the software to also improve their software. And I've not even touched the surface. Like, there are so many things that I would have written completely differently, good or bad, because we all know about my coding, right? But, a lot of stuff. Yeah. And then, so that's where I've been. I've not been here. I've not been streaming because I've been at work. I've been, client side, starting very early every day. Hey, Jerker, how you doing? Hello, Christian. Are we expectingly unmaking or unexpectedly making tonight? It's just mainly chatting and me. Well, I was testing boards. I don't know what happened. They've stopped testing, and don't feel like debugging them right now. Yeah, I don't feel like debugging them right now. I got a few done. I got that many done while we were sitting here. So, that's a few. Maybe half. Hey, JF. How you doing? So I've spent the last 4 days. So all of the Raspberry Pi stuff. So there's a development Raspberry Pi, and then there's these hubs that are running Raspberry Pi, right? They're all running Buster Lite, and as I said, the code base is in code blocks, which it's not even the last version of code blocks because it won't run. The last version doesn't run properly on Buster, and for those of you that ever use code blocks, it makes Arduino look good, right? So I spent the last like week on and off, but last few days reduplicating setting up a brand new development environment on a Pi 5, and they're all running 3B pluses, right? And all the hubs are running 3B pluses. They've got stacks of them. The 3B plus is fine in the hubs. So I set up a new development environment that's on a Pi 5, 16 gig model that I've moved all their code base over to Visual Studio Code on the Pi. That was a fun challenge, working out how to get a CodeBlocks project ported over and all the tool chains set up. So then I've got Visual Studio on, and I've been stuck on a Windows PC. It's actually a Mac, but it's running Windows. So I've been in Windows land. It's okay. They're getting me a Mac. I'm going to move to a Mac. We're just waiting to see what happens with the M5s later this month, if any machines come out, M5 machines. But anyway, so Visual Studio Code for everything other than the CubeMX stuff. So I've been doing that, and then I've been getting Bookworm. So I've been setting up the whole new process for their hubs to run 32-bit Bookworm. Everything's 32-bit for some legacy reasons for the moment, but I will eventually move it over, but this is the first step. So I've been also doing that, like setting up, changing their infrastructure and trying to document it all as I'm doing it. It's really been insane. I can't begin to tell you. It's pretty something at the moment with sales. Are they? That's because of tariffs, etc. They don't want to acknowledge the price point. Yeah, the prices are just so high now. And it's not that there's a whole lot of stuff that's cheaper than it, but the Pi used to be about like a $20 computer or a $30 computer, right? It's now hundreds of dollars for a 16 gig Pi 5 in Australia anyway. Like that's and I don't think it's a tariff thing. Anyway, but CodeBlock's still around. It hasn't been updated for quite a while. But the version that I'm using on the dev environment on the Raspberry Pi, the old, or the current, not the new one that I'm working on, that's a couple of revisions earlier. It's just Crash City. It's a terrible interface. You can't click on a function and go to it, like you can't, or right click on it, like you know what I mean. And you if you search for stuff, you can't click on you can kind of click on the item to go to the line of what it is, but you can't even see what it's really not great. Yeah, it's I totally get it. Like it's an old project that's passed through a lot of people's hands, and everyone has had the same philosophy that, look, I can rewrite all this now and try to modernize it for the time, but you know what? It's easy. I just need to add this one function, so I'm going to add it the way it currently works, right? And everyone has done that. And Sion doesn't like that. Sion has done that, but at the same time of doing that, he's concurrently done an alternate version. That way I can switch between. So like right now I'm developing the Raspberry Pi stuff. I'm developing on on the Pi 5 and on the Pi 3 development machine, and I'm keeping the code bases the same, but they're not in the same repository. They can't be. We're not even going to go into not GitHub version management stuff, but versioning. Everything's versioned in their whole ecosystem. So the two code bases can't be the same thing. They can't be branches in the same thing. Doesn't matter. So I'm literally doing concurrent code so I can always keep the current version up to date. So I've updated the version so it works with all the new hardware, but I'm also taking that to work with newer operating system with, I need to, everything's changed. Like, OpenSSL has gone from version 1.1 to 3 and all all the USB dev libs and, you know, curl libs and everything else, like, they're not compatible. I can't just compile the old code and the new thing. They don't work. And then they're talking to they're half that. I don't know if it's ever going to get finished. That they're halfway through transitioning all the communications were SOAP based from the hub to the servers, and they've changed a lot of it to be REST based, but they haven't done all of it yet. So there's half REST and half SOAP. So I need to make sure that all of the, you know, the libraries I'm using in the Pi code base are compatible, because they can't run two versions of the SOAP interface. The good news is the clients allowed me to cut off all the old hardware. So none of the stuff I'm doing has to support the old ESP32 products. They're tearing them down and they're moving them all over to the new ones, which is good. So there's a line in the sand, which is great. But most of the backward compatibility is still there. I've kept it there, haven't just ripped it out, because it's my only way of looking at fallback functionality to make sure that it's correct, until we, you know, can thoroughly test everything, like get to a V1, test everything, and then I'll version it and strip out a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, the fact is that none of this stuff, well, it's all closed off, so it's not like anyone can really access, like none of the clients can access the hardware, like, you know, whatever. But yeah, they've all been running a really old OS. It wasn't even the final version of Buster, like with whatever security patches before they stopped. I don't even know what it was. And so they originally started on Stretch. So, like, to build an SD card for a hub, right, for a shipping version, there are like 4 steps that include starting on grabbing an image of Stretch Lite and then running a whole bunch of things on it, and then upgrading that to Buster in situ, and then running a whole lot of things on it, which then gives you an SD card that you can ship, right? And so Xeon went, what the? So Xeon's version is, for Bookworm, is grab the image of Bookworm, doesn't matter what version it is, don't care, and then run this one script on it, and you have a shipping disk, and you go. So therefore, if you want to make another one for another hub, you just grab the built image, the one that's already had the script run on it, and duplicate it. Duplicate that, ship it. Duplicate, ship. 1 step, duplicate it, ship. Not 4 steps with 2 images, with 3 lots of scripts and hand hacking that required connecting to a Linux box to do this thing and connecting to a Windows box to do this thing, because it was done 12 years ago. Yeah. Well, anything commercially using SD card is rather sketch. Right, but there is no such thing as a Raspberry Pi that uses eMMC right now, unless you use a compute module. And a compute module, I'm already doing a first pass of redesigning the hub hardware, which is quite complex. Well, my first step is just to build the existing hardware as is. But the existing hardware...
Chat has disconnected.
It's back. But the existing hardware has, you know, like it adds an additional 12 USB ports to the Raspberry Pi, right? Like, so 2 extra hubs, 6 ports each, or, sorry, 3 extra hub ICs, 4 ports on each, right? So 12 ports. And then, you know, it's got other things that it's doing. It's got power management stuff and all sorts of things, like individual power management to each of the places that you can plug things into. So, you know, the first step is get that built so we can manufacture them. The second step is to make them easier for me to build on the line here, right? I mean, they're all, you know, 0603 parts. There are like 27 unique passives, and that could be reduced quite a lot. And then a lot of them could be reduced to parts I'm already using on my line, so we don't have to put, you know, extra parts. And then the third step will be reinventing it all to use a compute module. But it's just too big a job, because we've got a timeline, right? We've got a deadline. So the software upgrade will run on any of those 3 revisions. So as long as we get one of them out, with the software upgrade, we can then I then have time to work on improving it and eventually get to a compute module, um, or we might end up not using a Pi and we might put some beefy silicon on there that can run a Linux kernel, maybe, I don't know, but most likely a Pi. Stay with a Pi. So yeah, then we can go eMMC and we can do whatever we need to do. Oprah Winfrey Open. You get a USB and you get a USB and you get a USB. Yeah, lots of USB. So, but crazy stuff like, the Pi talks to a device. There can 12 devices plugged in, and the Pi can talk to each one via I2C, right? So each device goes into, it knows it's in a hub, so it goes into I2C slave mode, right? And it becomes an I2C slave that the hub can talk to it, that can do all sorts of stuff with the device. But you can also do all those things via serial, via UART, right? I2C is very slow, but very easy to do. UART, having 12 concurrent UARTs running, is a bit harder. Then I had to move everything to USB serial JTAG instead of UART on the S3. And so, but that gives us full-time UART. They were doing it through FTDI. They had to turn on and off. And oh my God. Seriously, it's like, and it all works. Like they're excuse me. Their previous system works and it's robust, right? So it's like, it's not that I'm fixing it. It works great. And I need to make sure this new system works just as well. But it's completely different. Sorry. I think I swallowed a C++. Yeah. So I'm spending pretty much all of my time coding at the moment in 3 different code bases. All C++. Yeah! It is. It's a full-time job. It's been a full-time job. It is a full-time job. Had no pink LEDs. No pink LEDs. There are lots of LEDs, RGB LEDs, but no pink LEDs. And they don't even use pink anywhere. You should use pink. Anyway, that's not true. There's one white LED or RGB LED that's supposed to be white, but the green channel is broken, so it comes up pink. Hello, Mad Techie. Not CM4. It'd have to be CM5. Yeah. But the power cost for a CM5 or a Raspberry Pi 5, like power budget, is too high. So yeah, look, it worked out good timing because I couldn't. Alex, you're right. I couldn't ship to the US for like almost a month, and I'll be 100% honest, right? 100% honest. When the US shipping stuff stopped, I already had an inkling of what I was going to be under with this contract work, right? Like it's been ramping for a little while. I've been working on it for a couple of months on and off from the hardware side, and I knew what was coming software. But when the US stuff happened, I was probably within a couple of days of executing a wind down unexpected make it plan. Because the US stuff, the shutdown of the US stuff basically killed like 80% of my retail sales, right? And my wholesale, so my distributor sales have been pretty average for quite a while. Cost of living crisis and everything else, and so I was really like, and probably one of the only reasons I didn't seriously do it was because I need my manufacturing facilities here for my client work. I mean, the whole point of all the stuff I'm doing with this client, apart from the software side, is I'm manufacturing all the hardware because he doesn't want to, and his premises is not big enough to fit all my stuff in. So I need to keep this going. So part of me contracting, a portion of my time contracting goes towards keeping this place going, because Unexpected Maker isn't keeping it going at all. It's yeah. If I wasn't doing this contract work, if I didn't have the hardware requirement, the manufacturing requirement for this, and a couple of other smaller contract jobs I'm doing at the moment, then I probably would have been in a 3 or 4 month shutdown plan to wind it all down, because things are shit out there at the moment. And even now, though I can ship to America again, the tariffs are not nice. The tariffs are a tax for all the US customers, US citizens, and my US sales have bounced back to maybe a third of what they were before it shut down. So that might lift a little bit, but crowd supply viable. What do you mean crowd supply? Crowd supply, they do crowdfunding like that. How does that help me? And like I have to launch products on there, and they've got to be fully open source, and they have to be fully certified. Like I'm not doing any product design like at the moment. Like I've done zero, nothing new, no new product designs or anything. But I don't know, not really. I mean, like, I'm not sure what they would give me. Like, I'm not looking at. Okay, so here's the thing. It's a shit marketplace right out there right now, and I'm for many reasons, and I'm sure that includes, you know, enough people have got enough of my products, and so, or maybe there are other shiny and newer things out there that are more appealing than my products. Sure, that's always going to be a thing, but there's also a cost of living problem out there. People still losing their jobs, people doing 2 or 3 jobs, can't afford to put food on their plate. I don't know about the rest of the world. I assume it's the same, but our power and like gas and all that costs are still skyrocketing. I just got a third letter from our power company in the last 18 months. So 3 in 18 months with 3 price increases. So just people aren't spending as much, right? Companies that used to buy, they needed 5 or 10 boards off me, like an end user company. And so, but they'd buy 20 so they'd have spares. Now, if they need 5, they buy 5. They don't buy spares, right? So just in general, sales are down. And when sales are down, that's the worst time to release new product, I believe. You can't fight your way out of an economic crisis by spending a whole lot of money to release a product that people may want or may not want but can't afford, right? Sure, there'll always be a loyal group of people that might buy some of them, but okay, SQUiXL. I know I think I mentioned it. I'm sure I mentioned it to my Patron supporters, but I don't know if I ever mentioned it publicly, like here. But I had an idea in my head of how many SQUiXL maximum I would sell. Like, what is the sales lifespan of SQUiXL? And I said it, and I think a few people were shocked on what I determined, and I was spot on within 2 units. I invested thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars designing SQUiXL, and months of all sorts of stuff to get SQUiXL where it was, right? And I've sold 67 SQUiXLs. That's it. And I guessed I would sell 65. So I've sold 2 more than I thought I would sell. Now, it's a high-priced product. I get that, right? But it's also got more and better than all its competitors in the marketplace, the Chinese ones or whatever else, right? But it's a high-priced product. And it's a high-priced product because I was never going to ship more than, definitely sub 100, but, I had enough stuff to build 100 of them, knowing I wouldn't build 100 of them, or I wouldn't ship 100 of them. And I don't think it would have made much of a difference. I might have sold 20 more if they were $50 each, right? Maybe I would have sold 20 more or 30 more. I still wouldn't have sold 100, but I would have made nothing on them overall. So, you know, there's no point. I mean, it was launched during a period of time where people didn't have as much disposable income. But I couldn't just sit on it. But I'm not going to design and release new products in this marketplace. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. The amount of time and effort to do it, to put something together, to make it the best it can be, to give it a chance, and then release it in a market where people go, oh, that looks really cool. I'd really, I'd love one of those, but I can't afford one. Like the number of people that put my products in their shopping cart that never buy them, and I guess that's a standard thing that people do, whatever, right? But the number of people that put stuff in their shopping carts that never buy doubled over the last year. So it was always, a large number, like 20, 30%, right? It's just under 70% of shopping carts. Actually, it's probably more now. It's probably closer to 80 of shopping carts that people don't buy. And then you look at stuff like Tindy that you can put stuff in a wish list or a wait list, right? There'll be like 60 people on a 100 people on a wish list, 40 people on a wait list for a product, and when I release it or restock it, 5 people buy. So that's just what it is now. That's the marketplace, and so much of it is not in my control that I can't change the outcome of, right? I'm getting my stuff into as many resellers as I can. It looks like I just picked up a new reseller in Poland. I just got a purchase order from them overnight. They're only taking, they asked me to drop my minimum quantities considerably, minimum order quantities, for them to come on board. And I did. Okay, sure. Because I'd rather they have some and they can, and people around them can buy, and more people can use my boards. So it's not like I'm restricting my sales, but my retail side is pretty much over, right? Like, not unsustainable. It's unsustainable. So this contracting stuff has been a lifeline, but it's not forever. Not a job like this, right? This will have a time where all the hardware's moved. There might be some new product design, but it'll be less and slower. There'll be maybe, I'm hoping I'll be able to hand over all the firmware responsibilities to someone else, because that's not really what I want to be doing. But right now it's paying the bills, but it's also keeping me away from here, right? So it's a double-edged sword. It's paying the bills. I'm able to keep this place going, but I'm not here working on this business. I'm working on his business. And so, anytime I take away from his stuff to work on my business, where I'm not earning an income from it, where instead I'm actually spending money to try to generate an income from it, is a double negative, right? So it's a yeah. They were running Z-Wave. I know that's not related. No, they were running Zigbee, not Z-Wave, Zigbee. I'm thinking this is the way of the future, designing and building hardware for clients. Yeah, but that's also a really tricky thing. That takes a long time to get a project up. Many hours spent unpaid for at the start. And Johnny was always the one buying the pink one, of course. Yeah, I know. Oh, my Mac, I know this is. I'm not unique on this. Hey, Matt, how you doing? Like, this is not unique to me. Like, so I'm not saying anything. Like, you know, most of the people I know in my space, the kind of makery, making products for makery stuff, they're all feeling it. And industry as a whole, like it's a problem for everyone globally at the moment, in all sorts of industries, not just the tech industry. But look at the games industry right now. Like, they're just studios shutting down left, right, and center. Obviously, I follow a lot of people, a lot of game studios still just news, LinkedIn, whatever else, and just again and again, like Funcom just shut down, let go so many people. Like, it's happening everywhere. And so I'm just it's a me too, whatever. But as I said, I've got this lifeline, which is great, but it's not going to be forever. And at some point, I'm going to have to work out what I'm going to do. But and JF, to the point about like designing something new, I mean, crowd supply, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's got to be the right fit for crowd supply. But it's, it takes not just money, like investment and time, to get a new design and get a new thing up, especially something that people might really want, that might have a chance. It takes motivation and creativity, and that's something I'm really don't have a lot of at the moment, to be honest with you. It's hard to be motivated and creative in a space where every moment you spend working on something could be time down the drain. So I'm getting to work on things with this client that I never would have touched, right? From a dev platform point of view and from a hardware point of view, right? Working with all sorts of crazy high level, 20-bit ADCs, as if I want to be doing any type of analog. No, but I am. And thankfully, the design part of that, schematic wise, is pretty solid. So it's just a matter of re-implementing the design on PCBs and stuff. But STM32s and pretty cool, super high precision IMUs, and GPSs. Yeah, like it's been that's why it's been interesting for me. Like, I'm getting like stuff that I wouldn't have ever touched myself for my own products, because they're just too complex, right? And they're things in a product, not things in a development board that you would sell, right? So that's been great. But every bit of new hardware means I'm also touching new bits of software. And yes, we all know my track record with software. That said, I have been chipping away at things. I pushed a 3.1 RC build of Reflow Master Pro out last week. Hello, Sid. And I've been still chipping away at my Omni controller.
Alan Madsen says, as long as you enjoy what you do and it makes you happy, that's what you should do.
Yeah. Sure. Mostly happy. I'm mostly enjoying. Yeah. If it was client facing work, if it was their clients' products that I was working on, I wouldn't have done it, right? But because that just turns into lots of meetings and arguments and all sorts of whatever. So it says, from inside the US, tariffs secured new products working on, maybe should Melody ever return? I can resurrect it. Huge amount of money investors pretty much lost. Sorry to hear, mate. Yeah, the tariff specifically for you guys is just, like, in the US, is just unreasonable. The removal of the de minimis or whatever it's called was just, that was like an unreasonable move, right? For sure. Hello, half Greek geek. Like, that shouldn't have happened. There's no reason why. I mean, what it's costing the US customs in infrastructure to support this new system and what it's costing all the countries around the world to support this new system far exceeds any benefit the US is going to get by removing de minimis. Simple as that. I hope I'm saying it right. If I'm not, whatever. You can all cash off. Cash off. Go on. Let's start with the cash police. Are going to come at me. So, I mean, from the higher tariffs for the higher value stuff, or whatever. You know. Anyway. This is expecting logic is not productive. Try not to be political. Yeah, no, we can be political. I don't mind anymore. That's the other thing. The world's just going to shit. Sorry. The world is completely going to shit. And I'm not talking from a financial crisis point of view. I'm talking from a morality point of view. But we can do another stream about that if you want. Yeah. So keeping it all inside, yes. The problem is there are too many people keeping it all inside and not speaking out. Anyway, in Canada, the economy is having issues. We're closely coupled with the US. Your economy having issues has nothing to do with the US. It's to do with your incompetent government. But anyway, you brought up the word politics. Did not know you were gone. Yes, I was gone for 4 weeks. I had planned on trying to stream, but I just couldn't coordinate it. Right, I was had to be at the other place, or or I just didn't have the motivation and whatever. Yeah, you got Andy Mouse. Yes, so in the UK, if in the UK right now, if you say pork publicly, you go to jail. I mean, really, unexpected politics. No, they're all incompetent. It's more some less than others, not some more than others. They're all more. Look at yeah, it's and that's just not just the UK, but we're seeing more of it publicly in the UK. Anyway, listen, I'll be honest with you. You know me, I got some very strong opinions. I wouldn't call myself unopinionated, and I am quite happy to have a full-on political. It'll be a battle. It would be a battle. I'm telling you now, but not today. Not on this stream. Not on my Unexpected Maker stream. I think I've done my best over the last couple of years to keep politics off my channel, off my Discord, off my streams. But the state of the world right now is very, very disheartening, and it's going down the toilet pretty fast. Unexpected rants. I used to have an unexpected. We spoke about that a while ago, didn't we, Bruce? Like years ago. Back when I was doing electronics, like rants, like Charm High rants or whatever else. By the way, on my Discord server, I did actually add a little while ago, because of the topics of the whole shipping US topics. There is a politics not safe for work channel in the off topics section, but there's really not much in there because I just don't think people really want to bitch about politics. But yeah, crazy times we're living in. So yeah, I apart from doing some bits of firmware for myself, and obviously manufacturing boards when I'm out, when I need to ship stuff like I need to do today. I need to make stuff for some orders. I've not really been doing any other unexpected maker related things. I have lists of things I want to do. Like I've got over there piles of Reflow Master Froze. I'm in the middle of building and whatever. But I've been looking at bits and pieces of things. I've got some different PCB designs, kind of in various stages of. I won't call it finished. Various stages of started. But yeah, like I basically, I get to work at 7:30 in the morning with the client, and then I get home at like 8 or 8:30, have something quickly to eat. I go to bed, and then I get up early to at 6 to get to work at 7:30 in the morning. So to the digital ID, were you supposed to get it on September 30th? Yeah, there's that digital ID is not happening. Better not happen. How crazy! I saved my rants for Twitter. Yeah. So I keep clear of all platforms for my political rants, except I don't know if I should tell you all. Whatever, I don't care. Except for LinkedIn. LinkedIn is where, although I've been quiet the last couple of weeks, but LinkedIn is where I do my politics. Not Twitter, because that is a cesspool, as Matt knows we've spoken about. But who's going? What? Oh, Gerald 42. Catch you later. Thanks for joining. Yeah, LinkedIn is useless for job hunting now, and it's useless for anything other than propaganda. It's a propaganda platform, and Microsoft should be completely embarrassed and about what they've allowed to happen to the platform. It's a fake news, fake advertising, fake business, fake politics propaganda platform. Which sounds like a lovely place for me to hang out. So, yeah. So the world now is that we're forced to bring it out in full public view. We're not forced to bring it out in full public view. We just get to see it in full public view, and we are, and it's just too easy. Like, and people just believe everything they see, and that they take no time to validate anything that they see, and then they just repeat it. We live in a world where if you see something that might align with your way of thinking, whether what you're thinking is good or bad, or whether what you see is true or not, you're one click away from spreading it to the next group of people. And that's the world we live in right now. And so, yeah, confirmation bias. And it's I'm a strong believer it's much easier to find evidence that backs up your belief than it is to find truth that contradicts or that challenges your belief, right? I would join the next round and participate in the battle. Hey, Gaston. Good to see you. And that's the problem, right? People now use social platforms to validate their beliefs, not to find answers to questions, right? There's no critical thinking, and it's just, and let's face it, the biases and the prejudices and the racism and everything else is just, everyone's been given permission to say and do whatever they want without any ramifications. And that's what's happening around the world, in media, on the streets, and weak governments are just letting it happen. Like in Australia, it's shocking here in Australia. It is. We have the weakest woke socialist government here, honestly, who they just, we have federal and state laws in this country that 100% cover arresting and prosecuting and deporting a lot of people that have been doing a lot of bad things on our streets, and they are 100% unpoliced, and the government do not intend to police them. They just allow them to happen on the streets because they are beholden to and under pressure of social groups, voting blocks, right? They can't lose their voting blocks, and so they let anything happen in our streets, which is just, yeah. So, and in the UK, like they're just arresting people for having an opinion, arresting people for tweeting, going to their homes. Like, you tweet something that offends someone, that offends a certain group of people, I should say, not anyone. If you tweet something that offends someone that's carrying a, the UK flag, no, that's not a problem. But if you offend someone by carrying a UK flag or say something, you go to jail. Like, that's just, and it's everywhere. Europe, every country. Well, that's not true. I can tell you some countries where it's not happening. There are some key countries in the world where this is not happening. And very few people have asked the question, why? So if you look at all the protests and, all the, what protests I'm talking about, right? And you look at all of the, like, what happened just recently in Italy, like the riots, the protests that turned into riots and full-on vandalism and whatever, and like in Germany and everywhere else. You think of all of that, right? Do you know which countries that's not happening in at all? I'll tell you which countries. Saudi Arabia, United Emirates, well, I'm not going to mention Qatar, whatever. All of the Arab Emirates nations don't have this problem. And every other country, except for Poland, because Poland have had and have very strict closed, not physically closed border, but closed border immigration rules, right? But all the Arab nations don't have this problem. And all the Arab nations don't allow these people into their country. Right? And you got to wonder why they don't. And now we know why. But all of the Western countries that have population problems, like birth problems, like you look at Italy. Italy are currently, they're at like 1.3 or less population growth. Like, so without immigration in Italy, there won't be an Italy in a few generations, because they're not. You need to have a population growth of like 2 or really high 1 point whatevers, like 1.8s, 1.9s, for your population to be sustained. And Europe have a massive population growth issue, and so you solve that by immigration. But it's who you allow in has become the problem. Who and how many, And look what's happening. It's yeah, and no one's learnt yet. No one's going to learn. It's like I believe I strongly believe, although I don't want it to happen, but I strongly believe that it's going to, in the UK, it's going to be some form of civil war, there'll be conflict. I'm not saying it's going to be a full on, you know, down the middle civil war, you know, like North and South in America, but there's going to be there at some point. It's going to get violent in the UK and other places in Europe, but I think it's going to start in the UK, maybe in France. I don't know. That's pretty bad there as well. And it's unfortunately we're at a point now where even if governments changed, they can't fix it. Like, whether you like Trump or not, I don't, whatever. What they're trying to do at an immigration level with ICE and whatever else, right? Trying to find and deport illegals, especially illegals that have committed crimes that are, you know, in sanctuary cities, whatever else. Like, that's what it's going to take for countries around Europe to clean up. And no country in Europe's going to do it. They're not going to do it. No government's going to do it, right? And so it's going to take. It's unfortunately, it's going to take violence for this to stop and change. And the biggest problem in the world right now still is the silent minority. My opinion. This is all my opinion, right? Is the silent minority. It's always the case. The angriest people are the loudest people, right? They might be the smallest group, but they're the loudest in anything, right? And then when you mix social media and very badly agendaed media, like, you know, proper media, whatever, you know what I'm talking about. You know who I'm talking about, right? When you like the BBC or the ABC in Australia, right? Completely 100% biased, owned by Qatar, right? Like, completely biased media who, you know, who take a whatever. When you look at that, the problem is the silent majority that don't speak up, right? It's not enough that behind the scenes they say, we agree with you, we agree, we have a problem, right? The silent minority have to speak up. That's it. The silent majority. The silent majority, because they're a majority. They're a massive majority. But they're just not speaking up. And so all you hear is the other side. You know, and people either stick their heads in the sand or they think it's not going to affect them or whatever. You know, it's just. So the silent majority need to speak up. They need to step up. Anyway, that's no, you have a massive immigration problem in Canada, Bruce. Don't delude yourself. Closing your borders now is useless. It's too late. And that's the thing. But closing borders now won't help any country at all. It's too late. You got to do what America's doing. You need to deport the problem, not shut your borders. I mean, shutting your borders will help. Will help then get you a point where you can start dealing with what is there. But what is there is already too late. So, yeah. Anyway, send all the $10 POMs back. Send the $10 POMs back. Hello, embedded hobbyist. Yeah, it's bad. We have we just have a really bad government here that are very yeah. Yeah, it's anyway. Yeah, it's oh, how easy it is to get overweight. It happens gradually and easily, but to fix it, painful and requires much effort. Yeah, yeah. Although think of a whole country of people overweight that all have to work together to fix to lose it, right? Like you don't just have to do all the work yourself. If you're all not doing the work yourself, if you're all not doing the work, none of you lose weight, right? So it's even worse than that. And yeah, it's very disheartening what's been happening. Just every day, so the thing that pisses me off the most is just all the lies and the fake media and propaganda, the shit that gets spread around that everyone just so many people believe, and it's so easily fact checked, but they don't. And if you tell a lie enough times, it becomes everyone's truth. And the biggest problem is once a lie is said, any correction to the lie is pointless. Will not agree. History will tell. What? Look, I'm yeah, Trump's a tricky one. Trump and what he's doing is a tricky one. There's many things he's doing right, and there are things he's doing wrong. But I was completely gobsmacked at the level of misconduct, abuse, and lies and deceit by the Democrat Party over the last decades. I always knew that they're always borderline socialisty type people, and and there was always dodgies going on. But the level of corruptness from the Democratic Party is just beyond imagining. Like seriously. So like I think Trump is way better for America, good or bad, than the alternative in America. The what the Democratic Party have done, seriously, is just out of control. So yeah, that's a tricky one. That's a very tricky one. At least we don't agree on something. That's okay. We don't have to agree. That's fine. People are entitled to their own opinions. Yeah. So and the Republicans aren't. No, it's not the same. It's not what I'm talking about. All politicians are bad. All politicians are, once they're in, they're all about staying in, right? But no, the level of corruption, like specifically through USA aid, right? USA aid, whatever it's called, right? The level of corruption through that, um, was beyond beyond reasonable and acceptable. Um, Not only the self-funding, self-payment interests, of the politicians earning hundreds of millions of dollars out of backdoor deals, but the amount of money that they funneled to terrorist organizations under the guise of aid when they knew they were complicit in funding terrorism, which is against the law in America. You know, sorry, like that's inexcusable. Um, I watch a lot of politics too, Bruce. I do. We can agree to disagree. We can agree on Trump not being a great politician. Sure. We can also agree on Trump being a little bit, full of himself, egotistical, whatever, and good for a laugh with his tweets. But at the end of the day, I'd take a what? What are you doing, embedded hobbyist? All politicians should be immediately put in jail the day they take office. Sure. All politicians, they, um, what's it called when you go out and you like on a campaign? They campaign the topics people want to hear, and then they implement whatever they want or do nothing once they're in, and they spend all their time while they're in ensuring that they stay in the next time. It's a rort system. Politics, like unfortunately, politics in general, it's in every country. It's all. The problem is people. The problem aren't political parties. The problem isn't laws. The problem is people. People are always self-interested. People are always, you know, in it for themselves in many things. I'm not saying there aren't altruistic people out there. There are, but still, you know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, people are people, and people are the problem. People are the problem world round. We you know what? The Matrix wasn't wrong. Um, you know, the humans are a virus. We are a virus. Um, we are, and we're liars. We're self delusional. We're self important. We're you know that's what we are as a species. That's never going to change. Communism would work if it wasn't for the people. It's never going to change. It is what it is, unfortunately. Um, blame the working class, and there are plenty of good people in the world. There really is plenty of good people in the world. Um, but they're silent, too silent. Um, And there's no solutions coming. No solutions anywhere. So, is this a place for an argument? Bruce is asking, is it a place for an argument? It is on Discord. I was going to write something funny, but I didn't. I'm surprised the discussion hardly touched the impacts of cost of living. Types of debates quickly try to find someone to hang over money issues. No, we did discuss cost of living earlier, but again, there's no solutions for any of the cost of living crisis. There's our power bills are going up here, and our government has no plan to counter it, and our government still believe nuclear is a terrible solution. Of course, because our government is lobbied heavily by, coal and, fossil fuel things. It's just all whoever's got the most money and the loudest pitch. It's just, yeah. Food costs, utility costs, housing costs. We don't have enough houses here. Just like other countries, right? We don't have enough houses here. My kids will probably never own their own home. Like that generation, I think my generation was the last generation that would ever be able to afford their own home. And I'm 54, 53, 54, and I'm still 15 years away from paying my home off. So when I say afford my own home, but yeah, it's just, but meanwhile, our government gives homes for free to new immigrants that come to the country. We have veterans. No, we have current families in the armed forces in Australia that have no housing. Like they're actually active duty in our armed forces, and they have no housing. And our government gives new houses being built away to immigrants that come in the country. And that's happening in every country. It's not just in Australia, right? And there's nothing we can do about it. The people in democratic countries don't have power to do anything about a sitting government until election time. Your home becomes your retirement castle only if you can afford one. Housing is an issue in every country. As I said, it's not just Australia. It's an issue in every country. And similar things are happening in every country, right? No. Australia used to have a better immigration policy, although it's always been a point of contention. We're a large country, like in terms of size of land, but we have a very large portion of that that's not livable, right? Like the whole middle section of the country. So, all our populations are around the outside of the country, and we've always been a destination that a lot of immigrants have tried to get to, because we've always had a very high quality of life here, but that's eroded. It's eroded from a financial cost of living point of view, and from a moral and socialist kind of point of view. So it's no different to anywhere else, unfortunately. And it's been happening for quite a while. And I think the difference is a lot of Australians didn't realise, like it's been happening in the UK for a long time, right? A lot of people have known, maybe not everyone's believed it. It's been happening in Europe for a long time, and again, it's what we hear in media about world politics now is very different to what we used to hear. But it's been happening for a while here, and only now a lot of Australians waking up to it. A bit late, but we're on the same trajectory as everyone else, unfortunately. Borderline. Yeah, we're on the same trajectory. We have a chance to turn it around. I think a lot of other countries, it's too late. Like, we have a chance to turn around without the violence, I think, but not with our current government. And unfortunately, we don't have an alternate government we can put in power. So Labor, our Labor Party, our woke left are in power, and they're very woke. They're very socialist and very racist, government. Bigoted, biased, racist government. But our Liberals, our rights, are a non-existent government. They've got no leadership, and they spent too many years making their policies look too close to the Labor policies to try to win the Labor seats, that they lost their way, and they're not an alternative. So we have a shit government in power and no way of getting them out because we have no government to replace them with, no better option to replace them with. And a lot of people in the last election didn't vote Labor because they wanted Labor. They voted Labor because there was no other choice, right? AI generate unemployment, knocking on the door. Yeah, that's a whole different conversation. Although I'm still not. Yeah, I'm not convinced about the whole AI generated unemployment thing quite yet. I mean, there are some industries that maybe it might be eating away at, but I think AI is still not there. I think the latest releases of all these platforms have proven how far away things still are. Like ChatGPT 5 is shocking, terrible, useless, like really bad. Anyway, so some industries like design and whatever else, I think there's still got a way to go to really start taking significant jobs. You know what I mean? I think AI as a problem is way less of an issue than the financial crisis as a problem. Well, the whole government that whole government needs to go, and you have a very good alternate option. Who's JLR? JLR is finally restarting manufacturing. Who's JLR? Jaguar and Land Rover? I didn't hear. I didn't know that they were hacked. Wow. Wow. Yeah, it's some parts of AI is a bubble. Some of it is not. It's here for good. But I think it's still got a long way to go to improve. So we live in a world where governments are shit. There's no alternative to the governments. Politics is shit. There's no alternative to the politics. Cost of living crisis. No one has a solution. And worldwide immigration problem, and no one has a solution. That pretty much sums it up, doesn't it? I mean, is there anything positive happening in the world? So the schools, they wanted more kids to get home. Embedded hobbyist. That's really funny. That is really funny. Hey, Dave. Oh, you came in at a good time. We're talking politics, but we're not ranting politics. We're actually talking quite calmly. Well, I am, which I'm surprised about. But I haven't gone into my battle politics yet. I've skirted them and avoided them all. We're just talking general politics. But yeah, it's pretty deep, huh? SMEs, they're into 8 million. 9, what? I don't know what that means. At least universities are somewhat affordable. Yeah, because universities all being subsidised by Qatar. So, universities are affordable, but your kids aren't going to get an education on anything other than anti-West indoctrination. That's all they're going to get at university. So I'd save your money and not send your kids. I've not heard of. I might have a listen to his channel. Thanks, Gaston. Yeah, like there's a lot of media on all of this stuff out there. It's I was spending a lot of time listening to a lot of it while I was, working, doing stuff, manufacturing, testing boards, whatever. There's too much to consume, and knowing what to consume and what to avoid is always, an interesting thing. So, yeah.
Alan Madsen says USA is using the metric system SQUiXL now. 9 millimeters.
So they should. Metric, get rid of Imperial. Not really true. My friends' kids are pretty aware of things, heads down, and learning things like engineering. Sure. I'm not saying every child at every university, but as we've seen globally, there's a bit of a problem. So there is a known problem that has to be addressed in all the higher education, or primary school, high school, and universities. And some countries are worse than others, or at all three levels, but it's pretty bad. So, sure, not everyone's going to school to join the social warrior groups, but it's prevalent. It's a problem. UK hospitals are funny. Last time I went, they had me in stitches. Wow, Embedded Hobbyist is really pulling out the jokes today. It's pretty cool. Okay, we've got 12 more minutes of politicking, talking, or whatever talking, and then I need to start the lineup and get some manufacturing done. Color Maker, hello. See you on the reel. Change is writing code and talking politics at the same time. Yeah, I'm not writing any code right now, although I was planning on doing some code today, but then I didn't want to do code on stream. I would have had problems concentrating. Yeah, talking politics and writing code. Listening to politics and writing code is fine. Talking politics and writing code, that's hard. That's very hard. The world is dissolving. So what's the solution, everyone? Come on. We've got a bunch of smart people here. Well, I can't vouch for everyone. and I won't vouch for me. But we've got a bunch of smart people here. What's the solution? How do we solve the world's problems? Someone's got to. Well, not someone. But you know what I mean? Like, I think we've gone long enough waiting for it to fix itself. It's not going to happen. Assign politics to AI. Too much talk. Soon we'll stand up. Yeah, so that's the problem. Soon we'll stand up. It's too late. Not soon. Past. It's got to, no. Look, anytime standing up is better than not standing up, Andy Mouse, but I think that option has flown for a lot of people, a lot of countries, unfortunately. For me, in stitches is easy. You don't use the angle grinder again. What? Am I the only one that isn't? Anyway. Why 8 years specifically? I think it's going to be less than 8 years, let me tell you. But, okay, so everyone got that? In 8 years' time, on a Wednesday morning, we're going to be here. I'm doing a stream, and we're going to talk about now versus 8 years ago when it comes to politics. Does anyone use hot tweezers? I do. I've got I use them a lot. I've got a nano vase, the JLC nano unit. I think it's called vase, but VASE. I can't see the front of it. Anyway, so yeah, I've got little nano tweezers I use quite a lot to take components off and put it back on again. They're pretty cool. But the big chunky ones you can get from Ali are not so good. They're not really. You need like ones that are quite good precision wise for both grip, that don't move too much when you're trying to grab. Depends what you're trying to take off. No, Brexit hasn't fixed anything, unfortunately. Hoping when England left the EU that 007 would fix the EU. So is that what we need? We need to anyway. I don't have any solutions. I don't. I wish I did. It's much easier to point out the problems than it is to find solutions. But like, you know, unless I get into politics, as in literally run for government, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't get voted in, and I'm pretty sure if I did get voted in, I'd probably get assassinated with the level of non-compliance as a politician that I would introduce, because that's what it's going to take. There needs a governments to come in and completely turn things on their heads. Completely turn them on their heads. And it's just not going to happen, because it's all about votes. Alan's still going with the Trump thing. I'd take a Trump-like person in Australia right now. Absolutely. I would. I would take it. I think there's, no matter how much damage you think he could do here, the things that he could fix, are the things that would allow the country to get back on track themselves, right? I don't want Trump specifically. I don't want a personality like him necessarily, but someone who's prepared to come in and completely fucking mix it up, put it on his head. That's what it's going to need. Proper wealth distribution through fair taxation would be a start in every country. Absolutely. Absolutely. That'd be good. But they're long-term fixes. Those things take time to have an effect on a population. You know, we need other things. Yeah, Farage isn't the solution, unfortunately. He's just a different way of talking of the same people. Sorry. He's more in line with the current UK government than he is against them, no matter what he says and how he talks. That new political party that Tommy Robinson, he's not in it, whatever, but the one that he was representing, the one that he was talking about before the big march, what are they called? They I don't know if they have a chance, but they are speaking the right way. Yeah, not Farage. He's the same. He's the same as the current government. You know, 50% is the same, and 50% is the same worded differently, worded to be more appealing and attractive to the voters. Does anyone know what it's called? I watch and listen to a lot of Tommy Robinson. Like him or hate him, whatever, he speaks a lot of truth. And so much of what he has been saying for a very long time has all been proven right now. And all those with egg on their faces don't even have the guts to stand up and admit it. And he's still vilified, and he shouldn't be. Anyway, I can't remember what they're called. Yeah, I don't know, Bruce. I can't remember their name. Countries, the problem is that they decide too much over individual. Yeah, I love Tommy. 100% agree. Andy Mouse. He's just a straight shooter. He just, he's rough around the edges, and he's just, he says it as he is, as it is. Yeah, there's a lot of the EU are looking at pulling out of the EU still. Lots of talk about that. Oh, EU's a mess. EU's a mess. Technoodalus, hello. How you doing? And let's not even get started with 3.5 minutes left. Is it advanced party? Okay. Whoever it is that they sound like, that could be the way to go for the UK. But yeah. So 3 minutes to go. Let's talk about the United Nations. No, let's not. Let's not. Because I'll have to get my weapons out if we do that. And 3 minutes, 3 hours wouldn't be enough. Yeah, I wouldn't believe anything you read on Wikipedia these days. Sorry. Yeah, Ben Habib's won his whatever party. Advance UK? Yeah, that's the ones. But still, I wouldn't. You got to be careful with Wikipedia. Wikipedia has become a yeah. He who has never had accounts approved by an auditor. They don't need to, because their whole role now is just to. They're there for the sole purpose is to fine Apple about everything they can. That's how they're raising funds to pay for themselves. I'm happy to talk politics on here. I've got more politics to talk about than electronics or projects at the moment, right? Just being honest. This is where I'm at the moment. As things settle, I don't know how long it's going to take to settle with this client work. There's a lot to do still. It could be months still. But at some stage, as things lessen off, I'll be doing more project stuff again, whatever. But in the meantime, as long as we can all do it calmly and not be rude or abusive, I'm happy to talk politics on here. And if you want to be abusive and rant and everything else, we can do that too, but maybe on a different channel. I can set up a different channel or a different stream time or something. The unexpected MP. Yeah. Crazy. Okay, folks. Thank you for joining. Thanks for sticking around, for those of you that did. And any of you that left, or it's too late, you've already gone, or felt like leaving because of the political talk, feel free to say, please no politics. I'm happy to do that. And if you want politics, I'm happy to do that. Yeah. So I'll be guided by you guys. But thank you.
Alan Madsen says, nice to see you are well seen.
Thanks, Alan. I am well. Just stretched thin, very thin. maybe down the line I'll be able to share more about the stuff I'm working on, like at a more detailed level, or maybe show stuff. I don't know. I'll have a chat with the client. He might let me do it. But yeah, thanks for joining. I'm sorry it's been so long. I will try to do from now on regular every week, but there might be some Wednesdays that I have to miss, right? Just through workload. But I'll do my best. As long as you're not upset if I don't have anything project-wise to do on a stream, because that's going to happen sometimes. Politics for the win, plus some electronics. Yay! Okay. Bye, everyone. Take care. Catch you next week. I've forgotten how to end it. There it is. Okay, try again. Bye.